So today we are going to talk about the SBA update on the application and funding for self-employed owner-operators and realtors. So I want to be really specific about who we are talking to today. And if you are outside of this, you will still get some good information. But actually last Friday, April 10th, the SBA opened up the applications for sole proprietors and for realtors. So I'm hoping that we can get some good information to you today. So really the detail that I'm giving you today is for real estate brokers and agents, sole proprietors that file a Schedule C, independent contractors that receive a 1099 miscellaneous, and gig economy workers. So on-call jobs such as Uber, Lyft, musicians, entertainers. So that's who we're going to talk about today, or talk to today. Although if you're a business owner, you'll get lots of good information as well. So first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that you're able to maximize your screen. So if you will double click on my face and click full screen at the top right, that would be great. And then you'll be able to see the whole screen. And then as we go through and you're going to ask questions, if you wouldn't mind, please using the Q&A and do not use the chat function. Because if you use the chat function, it kind of falls to the bottom on my screen and I'm not able to see it. So we're going to use the questions, the question and answer. We're going to use the Q&A. So hopefully everybody can see that. And I promise I will get to all of the questions before the end. I may not get to them right when you ask them because I might know that I'm going to cover it in the future presentation. So let's just make sure that everybody is watching and sending me questions as we go along. Also, we are going to be recording this and publishing it both to our website and to YouTube. So if you see something valuable and you want to go back and replay it, or if you want to share it with someone, we will have the ability to do that. You will have the ability to do that after the presentation. So let's get started today. So first thing we want to talk about is what is the goal for the disaster proofing, and we're actually going to go one slide further. Okay, so this is our agenda. We're going to do the goal, then the current situation, our business decisions, what programs are available, what scams are out there, and how to survive this, and then how we return to the new normal and how we accelerate. So let's start with the goal. So basically, why are you here? Most of you are here because you need to survive this or you want to survive this. So click one time. Okay, I'm getting all kinds of technology situations here today. So cash is king. That's what we want you to remember. And the question is, how have you been affected? So the big deal is that you need enough cash to survive, and then cash to rebuild, and then cash to grow when this is all over. So disaster proofing your business was originally designed to get you the cash. That's where we started with this whole thing before. We actually came up with this idea to help businesses survive before the SBA and the legislation came through for all of these programs. So we were naturals to just jump in and start to help. So here we are. So we all know the current situation. I'm kind of moving fast through this first because we have a lot to cover. So we all know that Florida's on a 30-day lockdown. A lot of people are working from home. A lot of people can't work. So the reason today was this specific, like realtors that can't get in their car, can't show people properties. So we want to make sure that you know all of your options available to you to be made whole financially, hopefully at the end of this, and rebound to meet your goal of being able to open and thrive after this. So that's where we're talking about today. So today, this is a little bit different from the last presentation for those of you who might have attended the last, and I know there's a couple of you on today. The stimulus checks clarity has come out, and I just want to touch on what you're going to get. So if you are a single person or you claim head of household on your taxes, such as a single mom, you're going to get $1,200. If you're a married couple, you're going to get $2,400. Now, if you have a child under 17 that is on your tax return, there's an additional $500 on the stimulus for each of those. Now, there is a catch in that there's a phase out. So if you're a married couple and you make over $150,000, you will start to phase out of that stimulus payment. If you make over $198,000, you won't get the stimulus payment at all. So the phase out is 150 to 198 for married couples. Head of household, so single mom with a child or two living at home, if you make more than 112.5, you will start to phase out. By 136.5, 100% phase out. So you won't get any money at 136.5. Then a single person, $75,000 is the beginning, and $98,000 is the top where you won't get any money at all. So these checks should be, it's my understanding the direct deposits will start to arrive today. They're going to be quickest for those people who have filed their 2019 tax return and they have direct deposit information on the tax return. If you have not finished your 2019 tax return, then the 2018 tax return data will be used. So there are a few gotchas in this. So if your 2018 income qualifies in the limits that I gave you, but your 2019 will be too high, you would want to hold off filing 2019 until you receive your stimulus check. If you receive the stimulus check and then 2019 is higher and will knock you out of qualifying, you will not owe it back. However, if your 2019 tax return has been filed and you do not qualify, but you would have in 2018, you will not receive a check. So very important, a little bit of tax planning right there. Now, if your 2019 has already been filed and you do not qualify in 2019, but you would in 2020, then you will receive the stimulus amount on your 2020 tax return. So basically, if 2018, 2019, or 2020 are below those limits, you will be able to receive a stimulus payment. So a little bit tricky, but that's the top level of the stimulus checks. The other thing I want to mention is that in general, you will qualify for the stimulus payments even if you have tax debt. So if you owe the IRS, you will still get a check for the stimulus payment. It will not be withheld. And the stimulus payments are not taxable income. So that is a good thing because you won't have to pay any tax when you file your next tax return for those. So let's move forward on to talking about the disaster proofing your business and where you're going to get some extra cash from. So the first question we want you to think about is how long will your current cash last? Because we've all now been a few weeks where the economy has pretty much been shut down. If you have a business where you put people in your car or you're an entertainer, you are not getting paid at this point. So the first thing that you're going to have to decide is, what is your sales backlog? How long can you make it on the sales that you already have booked right now? For instance, a realtor might have 3 closings come up, but there are no more going into the pipeline. So how much time is it that you're going to have to cover when you decide you get to the end of this? So let's figure you think you're going to go 3 months without any sales for whatsoever reason, or you're going to be 50% down for 3 months. So you need to have an idea of how much cash you need to have to get you through this. Then you need to figure out what your fixed costs are. So once you know how much cash you anticipate coming in, what do you need to pay and what will your cash shortfall be? So once we have that information, then we're going to start to say, okay, what are our options? So we want to leverage our current banking relationships because after all, it's easier now to get money when you have good financials than it is once you don't have any revenue coming in. So you want to go to your current banker, ask if they have a line of credit. Do they have payment postponement? Most of the banks that I've been working with do offer a 3-month payment postponement right now. However, you need to ask whether it is going to be due in 3 months or whether it's going to be added to the back end of the loan, because there are 2 different programs being offered and you need to fully understand which one you are applying for. Because if you suddenly have a 3-month of payments due in 3 months, you're not really helping yourself. So you need to make sure you understand what you're signing up for. The other thing I have seen is watch for personal guarantees being requested, because a lot of debt that was not specifically personally guaranteed now, what they're doing is when you sign the 3-month postponement, they're asking for a personal guarantee on that. So question becomes, is it really worth postponing for 3 months? Can I realign my cash so that I don't have to sign a personal guarantee? So that's one thing that's a gotcha that you need to be watching for. Okay, so now let's get into kind of the disaster recovery funding available. So we're going to end with the one that's most appealing. We're going to go through the others first, though. I want you to make sure you understand all of your options. Florida Bridge Loan is the first option that came out. What this is it was intended to be a short-term loan and repaid when your SBA loan would fund. So ultimately, it was meant to be up to 1 year. So you have to be located in Florida to qualify for this. Each state does have its own program. So if you're listening to me and you're not in Florida, each state does. It's meant to be interest-free working capital, and it is a short-term loan and not a grant. And we're going to get to some grant money coming up in this. So this is a 1-year term. Initially it was said to be $50,000, but now it's gone up to $100,000 in most cases that you can borrow. It is 0% interest for the first year, but here's the gotcha. It's a 12% interest at the end of the first year. So that's a lot of interest if you don't pay it off in 1 year. And they're only accepting applications through May 8th. So that has a very short window that they're willing to accept applications. So if you're interested in this loan, you need to go to floridadisaster.org. It says Florida Disaster Loan on the, but I believe it's floridadisaster.org that you need to go to apply for this loan. So that's pretty straightforward. It's just meant to be an interim funding. And here's where we start to get into what everybody wants to know about. So the first one that kind of is what everybody wants to hear about is called the EIDL. Hold on, it says I'm muted.
No, you're not muted.
Okay. Can you hear me fine? Can everybody hear me fine? Can you raise your hand if you can hear me? Perfect. Okay, thank you all. Okay, great. So the EIDL is the Economic Impact Disaster Loan. So this is the full SBA program. Now this has got some real reasons you would want to apply for it. So let's go ahead and start with it's up to $2 million per borrower. It's also a $10,000 immediate grant, which we're going to talk about in 1 minute because there's been some new guidance that's come out on this just this weekend. So this is, you have to qualify, you must demonstrate substantial economic injury. So you have to say that you're unable to meet your normal operating expenses to be able to get the $2 million grant. Well, that is certainly something that you would have to put your accounting together, make sure you had good accounting records, because many of us think that this will last a lot longer than just the 30-day shutdown and it's going to take 6 months to rebound. So you have to make sure that you have a good plan and that you fully understand how to present how you're going to be short your funding. Because I don't believe this is going to be over in 2 weeks or 3 weeks when they say, okay, we're reopening the state of Florida. So you're going to need a good projection tool, which is something we can definitely help you with. But The great thing about this is if you can show that you have funding needs, you can borrow up to $2 million per borrower at 1% interest for 30 years. That is definitely the cheapest money you're going to get anywhere. So 1% interest is pretty low. That's lower than inflation is. So you want to be able to borrow as much as you can and show the best presentation to make that happen. Now, the catch to this is you have to be in operation January 30th of 2020. I don't believe I saw anybody on the registration list who was not in operation January 30th. But if you were not, you won't qualify for this. So then once they actually give you the loan, you have 6 months to make your first payment. So it's a pretty good opportunity if you can get your financials together to qualify for this. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about is the $10,000 immediate grant, because we have had guidance both directions on this. So what they're saying is $10,000 will be deposited in your bank account within 3 days of you filing your application. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. So what they have come out now is said that the SBA program has up to $10,000 to fund into your account, and it will probably be about 2 weeks from filing your application. Could be longer. I don't have any control over that. Now they're saying it's $1,000 per employee with a max of $10,000. So it's going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $10,000 that does not need to be paid back, depending on the details as they get this more and more clarified. So this is one of those moving targets that we're learning more every day. The legislation is passed for the funding to happen. The funding is beginning to happen. However, it hasn't been happening exactly how the media has said that it's going to happen. Now, there are a couple of people who won't qualify for this loan. So you are disqualified if you are more than 60 days delinquent on child support, if you have federal debt judgments without a repayment plan. So that means if you have a prior SBA loan that you don't have a repayment plan for, or if you have a tax debt that you don't have a repayment plan for, they're not going to lend you any more money. They have said, no problem, you can resolve those debts, and then we will give you the grant. Well, fine and great, except for IRS collections has been closed for 2 weeks. So I think it's probably unlikely that you're going to get that resolved very quickly. So eventually IRS collections will reopen, and then they're saying you would have the ability to qualify and to set up a payment plan and then apply for this EIDL. And EIDL and PPP, they're just acronyms that we never even heard of until 3 weeks ago. So the EIDL is the one that's $2 million per borrower, 1% interest for 30 years, and some sort of a grant, up to $10,000 in a grant. Now, the SBA is being lenient on credit histories, and there's no guarantee if you have a poor credit history. However, they are being lenient on, because they understand that they need to get businesses in business to keep this country moving forward. So if you do get $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, all of that is a grant. It does not have to be repaid. You can just say, I don't want to move forward with this, and I don't have to repay it. If you move forward and you get more money, the $10,000 or up to $10,000 is still 100% a grant. You don't have to pay that money back. So there's some really good things with this program. This is administered by the SBA, and it is through the SBA website. So if you're interested in finding out more about it, you would go to the SBA website, and they have all the information on this program. So I'm going to move forward now to the one that everybody's kind of talking about. This is the PPP. So this is where, until last Friday, if you were self-employed, you were not able to get this information and find out what to do. So now the PPP is Paycheck Protection Program. In general, this is, so I'm not going to skip this. I'm going to go ahead and talk it through for independent contractors right on this same slide. So this is SBA lending through your bank. It is not through the SBA, although the SBA is backing it and funding it. So many banks are limiting the access to existing customers. Now, we do have a banking relationship that will allow you to do it if you're not a current customer. But most banks are saying if you were not in existence if you were not a customer of theirs on February 15, 2020, they're not going to do this for you. So, and some banks have not even released this program. So, for instance, Fifth Third Bank, I believe, as of this morning, still had not released their portal to apply for this program. So, where does this help a self-employed person? So if you're a self-employed person, you're a realtor, you are a musician, what you are able to apply for is you take your 2019 profit and you divide it by 12, and then you multiply it by 2.5. So I believe that was about 23,000. We did the math. And so if you make more than $100,000, so I did it at $100,000. So if you make $100,000, you divide it by 12, and then you multiply it by 2.5. You can actually get that much money in what's called, I won't call it a grant because we'll get to what you have to do with it, but they will deposit that much money in your bank account, but you have to spend it to keep your business going. And we'll get to that in a minute. So let's go all the way back to the qualifying. So if you are a sole proprietor, realtor, independent contractor, and you are receiving a 1099, you make $150,000 a year, they're going to cap it at $100,000. You cannot be in bankruptcy at the time of the application, and you can have not defaulted previously on an SBA loan. Now, they're unlikely to approve it if you have a previous felony connection, you're in jail, I presume no one's in jail who's watching us right now, you have any crimes involving a minor, or you have non-US operations or employees. So that's one of the things that will stop you from being able to get this funding. If you are going to use the money to improve real estate, you will not get the loan. I'm calling it a loan. We'll get to why that is in a minute. So if you have a piece of property, you have a lot, and you're thinking, this is great, I'll get 50 grand, I'll start building something. You will not be approved to do that. You will not be approved for illegal business activities. You will not be approved if you're using this money to produce and distribute obscene material, if you're a member of Congress, or if you're an organization owned by a government agency. So, how much can you get? You can get 2.5 times your average profit for the year. Now, keep in mind that that is profit. So if you're filing a Schedule C, let's say you're getting a 1099 for $250,000, but you're claiming a lot of write-offs against that money, and you're only claiming profit of $20,000. You're going to be limited to $20,000 divided by 12 months times 2.5. So for argument's sake, if you only show profit of $12,000, you're going to get $1,000 a month times 2.5. So your max is going to be $2,500. So you're going to be limited by the profit you showed on your 2019 tax return, or if you've not filed it yet, the profit that you have on your profit and loss for 2019. So that's a little bit tricky for independent contractors, because I know often a lot of costs are written off against that. Now the flip side is, let's say that you actually show profit of $200,000. The max they will let you use for that calculation is $100,000. So you'll be able to show profit of $100,000 divided by 12 times 2.5. Now, what happens once you get that money? That's the big question. So once you get that money and that money is deposited in your bank account, you can use it as a payment to yourself for 2 months, 8 weeks. And in lieu of working, you can use that as a payment to yourself. So then you can also use it for your rent, for if you have a place that you pay rent to. So in the case of a realtor, you could use it for your office rent. You can use it for healthcare costs, so you can use it for your medical insurance. You can use it for utility payments if you have a rented office. So, and the other thing you can use it for is interest on debt incurred prior to February of 2020. So let's say you have your car that you use to drive people around. You can use that money to pay the interest on your car payment. Provided you use it just to pay yourself and pay all those bills I just mentioned, it's 100% forgiven. So you don't have to worry about paying that money back. So if you use it for things other than that, then you do have to pay it back. So the catch is that you file for it, you get the money, and then you use it for the right things, and then you actually have to submit 6 months later a report to the SBA or to your bank saying, hey, I used my money the right way, therefore I need forgiveness. And then you will never have to make a payment on it. So that's a great thing about this, is it is just truly meant to keep you in the economy, keep you working, keep businesses in business, and kind of give a 2-month buffer to get through this challenging time that we're on right now. Now you can apply for this through June 30th or until the funds run out. Right now, everything I'm reading is saying that they're going to increase the funding and not have funds run out. So they're not intending to stop funding these anytime soon. Now, if you did receive that EIDL that I talked on the previous slide, that PPP payment will be reduced by whatever you do receive. So ultimately, your cap is what you could be approved for. You can't double dip and get both of them, but you can apply for both of them and see where you get the most money and how they coordinate. The other thing that you can do is you can apply for the PPP. Actually, I'm sorry, you can apply for the EIDL for multiple businesses. So let's say that you have a property management business and you're a realtor. As long as they're separate entities, you can actually apply for them on both of the entities. So it is possible and even probable that you would get some money on each entity at this point. Because I know those of you with property management companies, the revenues are way down, lots of cancellations. So that is being considered. And you can apply for the EIDL to get out of the hole that's being caused by having to refund money to people and lost rentals, etc. So back to the PPP. If you were to be funded for the PPP first, then you would not be eligible for the EIDL funding. So ultimately, this is one big umbrella of money available, and you can't qualify for more than you would have independently. So they have to talk to each other. So I'm going to move on to the independent contractors. We kind of talked about that all on the last slide. Most important point, determined by net profit, and we're going to use 2019 profit to determine how much you would be eligible for. So let's talk about, because everybody is talking about, will I qualify for unemployment? It's a new thing to the self-employed that you actually can qualify for unemployment. It's first time ever. So if you're a 1099 earner, you can actually qualify for unemployment right now. So if you would qualify for $1 per week, so that means if you have a very small amount of profit in 2019, you can qualify for unemployment. I believe you only have to have $3,000 in profit in 2019 to qualify for unemployment. You can get unemployment through July 31st of 2020, and you can get $600 per week extra above what you would have qualified for. So if you qualify for $1 per week of unemployment, you will get $601 every week through the end of July. So the max is $275 per week. So if you would apply and receive $275 per week, then it would be $875 per week that you would receive through the end of July. Now the question is, okay, great. So can I apply for unemployment, and can I also apply for the PPP loan? And the answer is yes, but you can't receive them at the same time. So if you are receiving the PPP loan and it is covering 8 weeks of your payroll, you can't apply for unemployment during those 8 weeks. You can apply for unemployment as soon as those 8 weeks are up. So if you remember, the PPP loan, you had to apply by June 30th. So if you said, okay, I'm going to take April and May for the PPP loan, then the unemployment is good through July 30th. So then I apply for unemployment starting June 1st, and then I can get June 1st through July 30th at $600 plus my unemployment. That is absolutely allowed right now. So key being, never in the past has someone who is self-employed been able to apply for unemployment. And the employer is not being charged, so you won't have to pay anything back. But this unemployment is taxable income, whereas the other two that I've talked about are not taxable. So the unemployment that you receive, you will have to report on your tax return at the end of the year. So if you are an employer, if you have any employees, if someone who's listening does have employees today, you will not be charged to have your people go on unemployment as you normally are. Normally it increases your base, but today it's not going to. So unemployment is a good option for the self-employed people right now, and it's giving us some options of how to get enough money to get through now through the end of July. So let's go on to, there are some things that people are doing already where they're trying to take advantage and get money that they shouldn't get, or get your personal information using this information. So first thing people are doing are the typical phishing scams. So that's emails from CDC or the World Health Organization claiming to be them, or emails with links that claim to be the CDC or World Health Organization, and they contain a dangerous link or a dangerous attachment. So if you see something come in your email, just go to the website and try to find what it is they're talking about. Don't use their links and don't use their attachments. There's a lot of charity scams out there right now. There's a lot of fake charities. It always happens during a disaster. A lot of charities calling you, trying to get your credit card number, trying to have you make a donation to something that's not really a charity. So stick with what you know, stick with the charities that you already are aware of, and go ahead and support those charities, or support someone locally that you know needs help. Stimulus check scams. You don't have to do anything to receive your stimulus check. The only thing is, if you've not filed a tax return and you don't have a filing requirement, there is a link on the IRS website where it will effectively file a tax return for you, and you go in and you tell them what account to direct deposit the funds into. But a lot of people are calling, asking for bank account numbers, saying they're the IRS. They are not. So do not fall prey to that. Stimulus check. So email regarding personal information. Don't give your personal information out to anybody. The SBA loan is through the SBA. The PPP loan is through your bank. They already have your personal information, so you don't want to be sharing your personal information at all with someone who claims to be trying to get you some money. Lots of phone call scams about trying to get your personal information. Don't give it out. The other thing is pausing as your banker to verify your account information. they have your account information. You don't need to have them verify it. Another link that they're doing is the fake coronavirus maps. Once again, click on them and it gets way too much information about you. You don't want to do that. They contain spyware that steals your username, password, or other data from your browser. So don't click on any of those. Just search the web and go on them yourself. So be advised, scammers are using stimulus checks to leverage gathering personal data and using this information to commit other crimes. So identity theft, lots of reasons that they're taking your identity. So you don't want to give this information out. Just wait for the check to come to you. Okay, so I've gone through a lot of information in a short amount of time. So if anybody has any questions, I am certainly available to answer those questions. So let me see if we've had some questions come up. We have. Okay, let me start answering questions. Okay, I already filed my application and received an application number. Will you be discussing the process of this loan application? Sure, so I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to dismiss that right now. So once you file your application with the SBA, I presume you're talking about the EIDL application because that's the one that gives you an application number. So once you file and receive an application number, once you file and receive an application number, then 1 second, we're going to stop sharing the screen so you can see my face big and bold. Okay, so once you receive an application number, then you will wait to hear from the SBA, but here's the catch. That's when they're going to want all kinds of additional information. So they're going to want your forecasts, they're going to want your projections, they're going to want you to have all kinds of information. So the best thing you can do is be ready with that information. Make sure your books are up to date because you're going to need to show them exactly how you're going to be hurt by this disaster. So I hope I've answered that question. Okay. So the next question is, if you're a PA and you pay yourself a payroll, do you apply for what you pay your employee yourself, or do you apply for our profit because you're an independent contractor with the brokerage? So if you're a PA filing as an LLC, then you will be able to add your profit and your payroll together. If you are a PA who is an S Corp, you will have to simply use your payroll amount. I know it doesn't really sound fair, but an S Corp is not a self-employed person. So you are going to apply, if you are a PA, you are likely going to be able to use what you pay yourself as an employee and what you, as well as your profit. So you're going to be able to increase the amount that you receive so that it includes all of that. Okay, so then next question. What if you own commercial real estate, strip center that is encumbered with a mortgage and your tenants quit paying their rent? Any grant or interest loans available to operate this type of business? That is exactly what the EIDL would be geared at. The EIDL would be the money that you can get to move forward so that you can actually continue to operate your business. So that would be the application you would want to file, is the EIDL, which is the one on the SBA website. Follow-up question, is there a list of the information the SBA will request? Not exactly. No, they've told us that you will need to have projections. They've told us you will need to be able to show lost revenue. You're going to have to show year over year what has happened as you begin, and you're going to have to show them what it is you think that you would benefit from. So unfortunately, I think most people are going to underestimate this, because if you think for a second that everybody's going to get right back to normal in 3 weeks, I think you're sadly mistaken. So you need to project out a year at least to show how it is you're going to recover and what it is that you would be able to, that you're going to need to keep that shopping center or rental real estate, whatever, going forward. hopefully I've answered that question. So question, is our firm applying for these loans on people's behalf? So the answer is yes, we are here and we are available to help. We are charging a flat fee of $2,500 to get you through this whole mess, and we will help you apply for everything. In their infinite wisdom, the SBA said that we can't charge to do the PPP loans, so we can charge to do all the other loans for you, and then we will do the PPP loan at no charge for you. So that's kind of how we're handling it, and we are handling it from beginning to end, so that in the event that you would like to have, you have that question of, is there a list of follow-up information? We actually have a software that will produce all of that. You give us your data. We actually have QVinci, and we have Intuit has written special programs for us so that we're able to just produce those reports and get them to the SBA in the format that they believe they're going to be accepting them. Okay, a lot of information in a short amount of time. I don't see any other questions coming in. I'll pause. Yep, I do see a couple more just came in. So do I need to complete my 2019 taxes to qualify for PPP and unemployment? No, absolutely not. You can just use your 2000 accounting and use those numbers. So nope, you do not have to finish your 2019 taxes. Next question. Back to the EIDL. I filed last week, have a confirmation number. Will the SBA contact me via email with a list of items they need from me to determine the amount of the loan I could be eligible for? So there's two components to the EIDL loan. Number one is the immediate grant. Number two is the information moving forward that they will want. The immediate grant is just being dispersed to your account. They're going to decide how much to do it. It actually asked for your bank account number, and they're going to just give you the grant. Then if you would like to apply for more money, then yes, they're going to contact you. I don't know that it will be via email. It may be by mail, but certainly they have your email, and yes, they're going to give you a contact to go ahead and move forward. Initially, they said it would take 10 days for that to happen, but once again, it's going to be more than 10 days. What is the cash flow component? So the cash flow is you're going to have to, if you would like to have additional monies, so let's say that you're applying for that EIDL and you want to get more than the grant that you're going to receive. And a lot of people are going to need more money than the grant. You're going to have to provide a report of what it is that you need. So you're going to have some document, some baseline that you provide to the SBA to show them why you need the money. They're not, I mean, I think everybody on this call would say if I could have $2 million at 1% interest, we would take it. We would just figure out what to do with it and what the best plan was. So we are absolutely going to have to prove that this was related to the disaster and that you need the money, you just don't want the money, because we don't have $2 million for every business that applies. So that's what the SBA is going to be looking for to determine. And the key is going to be to be able to get as much money as you want, whether you use it to grow your business, whether you use it to catch up from this disaster. That's what the key is going to be on getting the right documentation. Any other questions out there before I wrap up? Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in. So at this point, I'm going to wrap up this webinar. We will post it on YouTube and our website if you want to go back and revisit any of those questions. One thing is we are at cpaofflorida.com, and you can certainly reach out to us, or if you have further questions, you can call our office and we will get you on my calendar or Andrea's calendar, and we will get your questions answered. And we will not charge anything to have a consultation and walk through what is the best plan for your particular situation, because as you can see, there's a lot of moving parts. So we shall look forward to hearing from you, and if there's something that we can do to help you, we are here, and we are working to keep everybody moving forward and then get them on a good path to a future that's got this all in the rearview mirror. So I thank you all for attending today, and have a great day and stay safe and stay healthy.